Hello and welcome to this moment. And in this moment, I am joined with Stephanie, who is this amazing priestess. And I love that my screen has just been, glitching all week. So we're just going to know that our energies are powerful. So thank you, Stephanie, for being the priestess and just the amazing soul that you are. And I'm grateful to connect with you in this moment.
Mm, Thank you. And thank you for the invitation for joining you today. And yes, I like what you said this moment.
Yeah, this moment is all we have, and what I'm realizing this more and more and more that, we don't know what the next is. And if we can actually really fill up our cups and all of this now, it really makes a difference for what happens in the future and where we're going. So it's such a beautiful thing. But for this now, like let's share like where you've come to step into this moment because both of our energies are so powerful. Every time this happens, my screen likes to glitch. So I'm probably not going to have my video on, which is fine. But yeah, share, a little bit about like what got you to this moment.
Mm, Yeah, I mean, let's see. And I've actually been playing around with this like very question today. It was interesting how like what feels most alive in this moment to share about me. So for those of you who may or may not know me, my name is Stephanie. You can find me over at divine.cosmic.empress. And as someone who has always been, I would say, always very intuitive and tuned into just like spirit, always listening to my higher self. Um, Currently, where I'm at in my spiritual journey as an entrepreneur is setting up the foundations to networking with other soulpreneurs, people who are wanting to leave or the traditional conventional 9 to 5 job while sharing their soul's gifts in this world, right? And finding that trust in themselves. Um, and so alive in this moment includes that as well as like beginning to set the foundations in terms of what my offerings are this year, which is a lot of group work with people, helping them to connect to their intuition, helping to heal certain shadows in terms of like trusting themselves, right? Trusting the direction of where they're going in their life. And also incorporating like spiritual energy work. Um, as someone I practice shamanic, I would say shamanic healing. So a lot of it's like connection to the earth, connection to the stars, connection to the energies, and how can we incorporate and weave in like ritual and ceremony into our daily day life to really connect and to drive momentum a little bit more.
I love that. And so, what things have you been doing to, anchor this in, right? Because I've been finding for even myself that, like, when we're building these foundations of, just love and trust within ourselves, like, how do we do that, right? Like, what are those steps that we're doing that are going to build that so that way we have this innate wisdom within us so that when we share with others, it's like a natural, it's like, oh, okay, like I see this through your experience. So I'm curious as to like what things that you've been doing to support that building.
hmm That's a good question. The major thing that I've seen along my journey is really carving out space for myself and setting the intention to have like daily, if not daily, um, just like I would say sacred space to hold for me. So whether that's before the beginning of the day, preferably, or even at nighttime as well. For me, what that looks like, that evolves depending on the season, but that's prayer. For me, that also involves meditation. Um, to help me to, and I also do energy work. So like Reiki is something I practice on myself to tune into my energy, right? Like to tune into my body so I can feel more grounded, to catch my breath. Um, and in doing so, I find that that has been like the major starting point and the foundation of everything that I do, like learning these practices so that I'm setting up boundaries, not just physically, but energetically. I'm setting up boundaries in terms of getting to know myself. Um, and that's been the major component in terms of to trust me. What does it feel like to feel stable in my own energy and body, in my mind, my emotions, grounded? And then as I get to know myself, it's like, oh, okay, I get to learn and honor my voice in terms of my desires, what my likes are, what my dislikes are, right? Versus me back before I used to deal with this, it was a lot of and a lot of people deal with this too. And it's like when you can't trust yourself just because you're trying to please somebody else, like you feel like you don't know who you are, what you want, right? Or you feel like you can't share that. So you begin to kind of compromise um, yourself for the validation or approval of someone else, right? And when you do that, how can you trust yourself? Because you're not listening to you, right? You're listening to somebody else. And so I found that that was a major thing for me to step into is like, okay, carve out space for me, carve out space, and then also practice more self love and nurturing in terms of beginning to trust me a bit more.
Mm, I love that. And it feels like our conversation that we had for your podcast, where we were talking about these boundaries, right? And how it's so important to know ourselves. And I think like that's like for me, like that's been one of the like the bigger lessons, but I think a catapult right into the next level of my reality has really been to honor myself and those boundaries and really like listening to my gut, right? And if my gut is telling me this energy may not be for you in this moment, I can then start to shift and be like, okay, well, where is the energy that is supporting me, that is lighting me up so that I can propel myself forward? And I really think that that's like such a huge, like, important piece when we're building foundations for ourselves, right? Is to really like know, like, who is the people that are really for us, because energetically, like, we all have these energetic signatures that are kind of intertwining and interweaving, and the more that we are immersed with energies that are similar to ours, that are seeing the gifts and the desires that we want and want that for us in addition to what it is that they're wanting as well, and they align, like, it really really helps us on our path. And so I love that you have been really diving into this a little bit more to align, what even your offerings are to assist with your own boundaries to support others.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, you definitely do remind me like when we had our episode we recorded for on my podcast, it was just like boundaries and then noticing we're discussing like you said, the energetic signatures and something that's been coming up with like a remembrance of how I mentioned when you're working with somebody, like that person, or you're interacting with somebody, that person is going to be either a past version of yourself. They're like maybe 10 steps behind you. You might meet somebody who's exactly where you are, or you might be somebody who's where you want to be. And it's like you said, being aware and mindful when it comes to trusting yourself, like of not compromising your values, like knowing what is it that you're passionate for about, what you're excited about, and then to realize like am I going to like sacrifice this thing that is important to me just so I can like sometimes say it's a past version of you that's not exactly where you want to go anymore, right? Because you've learned to let that go, you're evolving. Doesn't mean you can't interact and work with them, but it's just like there's work and then like spending time where you can get influenced, you know, and pulled back into the ropes of the, you know, being tangled up, right? Where you're not want to go. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it makes perfect sense because it really is like, being able to like have those boundaries, right? Like I feel like as an empath, and maybe you have had this in the past too, is like I love people, right? So like when I like meet someone, like I want to pour all of my energy and all of my love like into their being, right? And just like sharing what's happening, all these things. But now that my energy, like I can now feel energy, right? Like when we're really on this path and we're starting to tap into our spiritual gifts, like we start to now be able to not like ignore our gut or ignore these inner feelings anymore, so like when we have these experiences now, it's like, oh, this energy is for this and I can create what I want with this energy, and I can step away and now I can move over here and I can now do something else with this other energy. And that's been like just for me, because like I sometimes have been blinded by, people like just sharing words with me and making it seem like, oh, they're for me. But energetically, there was something that I wasn't aware of, and when we start to have these new lens of seeing energy and seeing it for what it is, like there's no longer like, oh, I need to like have this whole ordeal. It's like, oh, this energy is not for me right now, and now I get to, look at that as such a beautiful gift and learn from it and continue and allow the people, places, and things that are the energy that I am wanting to now reveal themselves to me as I stay true to myself. And I feel like it's such like it can be really hard to stay true to ourselves, because we have so many different influences in the world, and that's what the world was designed for, to create distraction, to allow us so that we can be distracted and not really focus on ourselves. And now is the perfect time to know that and to feel that and to receive that.
Mhm. And that's just like perfect. That's like that next step level in terms of like how do you trust yourself? It's like you set the boundaries and then you come into the space of like self-love, like which is the most radical form of expression when it comes to like speaking against the grind which other people are used to. Um, so like something that kind of brings to mind, like adding to here is like um, I work a lot with archetypes, so that kind of helps us to kind of like gain a different perspective of yourself, just through a different lens. And I had gotten a message about like learning about the prostitute archetype. Now, like when people usually, think about like the word prostitute, that connotation, like just like Western, it's like it has a different meaning. But when you really look at it from the spiritual lens, like priestesses, like back in ancient temple times, like these women were held as like vessels to help transmute energy, whether that was like and like say like anger emotions, like people who had gone to war, warriors, and they had to come back and now acclimate back to the modern day life back then. So through the sacred act of love and physical interaction, making love, they were able to transmute this energy because love is the highest form to cleanse out this vibration, right? And and when you have the shadow side of this archetype, because a lot of people have it, you can kind of think about what area in your life do you feel like you're compromising your values? What area of your life do you feel like you have to stay and deal with a certain situation in your life or people, right? Because you think that the exchange is the only way you can do this if you sacrifice your values and morals or integrity. So that can look like, say, someone who's in a relationship or it's not a good one, it's not a healthy, it's toxic, and they're staying because in their perspective, they think this is the only way I can get love. Like if not this, I'm not gonna get love. No one else is gonna love me, right? And um, like when I was diving into this, I was like, oh, you have to love yourself enough, and then like really step into the like really planting your feet in the ground and saying that this is what is so important to me. I'm not willing to compromise this. So when these other energetic signatures of the people that are maybe not supportive for your where you're going, where you want to go, come through, like they can come in and it's like you value yourself, you value what you're so passionate and excited about, um, that you're okay if they go and hang out without you, as an example, right? Or you're okay if they don't come and support you in your event, um, which is fine because you're like, you know what? Like the people are who will see what I'm excited for will be excited for me. They will be supportive of me, right? And I think that's how like you kind of begin. They also say how can you add into trust of yourself is if you follow through what you say you're going to do, or you follow through on the commitments, right? Because by you seeing that you're completing these things, kind of like goal setting too, you start seeing like, oh, I am capable of doing this. I am capable of achieving, receiving this, because I'm taking action, I'm receiving that fruit come back in feedback.
Yeah. It's so like, I mean, it's really good because it then like it's like we are the ones that are like making ourselves available for that, right? It's like we have to be that in the body. Like maybe in the past, like, that we could have gotten things however they did, but like the more that we understand that it's all about the body, it's about the body, especially as energy is coming in from the planet. Like, we have to be able to hold our energy. And so, if we're holding our energy and other energies that aren't supporting us, like, we're going to experience physical discomfort, in these things. So, of course, we're not going to be able to meet those things or these goals that we want if we're not feeling like just so lit up in the body, and so that's what I feel like what we're sharing is that it is really, really important to honor yourself and be vulnerable and just learn that whatever you're experiencing in this moment, it is leading you to the next thing. And the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you build foundations from love that are going to support you in the next and the next and the next, like all of this is supporting the entire planet. So the more of us that we focus on this and ourselves and what is lighting us up and what isn't, we are all supporting each other when we do that.
Mhm. Definitely. And I'm just, kind of thinking about like how things shift for you, like how confident you start becoming, like you stop looking around your shoulders to see if like anyone's going to validate you, like you just look to yourself by knowing and feeling like, how do I feel right now? Where like rather than feeling like, oh, I'm missing out on what everybody else is doing, it's like, no, I'm actually gonna say, as an example, take the weekend to go focus on my own spiritual business, which is like in essence your baby. Like this is something I'm cultivating, this is I'm nurturing, or anything else. It could be you working out at the gym and hitting a certain goal, right? But no one's gonna give you that. Like at the end of the day, no one's gonna give you what you want unless you move towards action, you know, unless you put that thing first as priority. And then you again, it's just like I think it's such a different vibe. That's where I'm at too. Because I'm like, I'm okay. Like it doesn't look as bad as I used to think, where there's requirements to come back to yourself, creating sacred space for you. to kind of like really get into connection in terms of your intuition and what wants to be shared. Like, what is it that wants to be birthed through you? What is that creativity, movement, and action that only through you can be put out to the world? You know, like something that was not here before until you took the time to put it together.
Yeah, and it's so exciting because it's like it literally is like whatever you've been feeling and thinking and wanting for the world, like that's what you're here to bring. And it's like no one, like you said, no one's gonna give it to you. Like it's through your evolution, it's through your expansion that it leads you somewhere. And like for both of us, right? Like we know, like we have evidence that shows us that when we focus on ourselves, more of what we are here to do reveals itself. Just as like it just is a natural occurrence because the more that we are in alignment with nature, you know, with the universe, like we're a part of such a bigger thing than maybe we even can comprehend right now. And so the more that we understand that like there's something like something grander, like a solar system, like a universe, like that's huge, you know, to know that we're a part of that, like is exciting. And the more that we learn and the more that we see that everything has just been guiding us and leading us to this moment right here, we can then start to take those action steps to like today for me was like, oh, like I don't really feel like doing this, but like, oh, I'm going to challenge myself beyond even what I thought was possible because I know that I'm capable of doing that. I know that I can do it. And therefore, because I know this, I'm going to create it, you know? And that's how we are moving. Like we're moving with this right now on the planet. And if people aren't like haven't, you know, came to this, like in some moment they will, right? But it's the evolution of our species that we all find ourselves and really just step into this oneness that is now.
Mhm. And like, I definitely sense like the like essence of like confidence, like with trust, as the more that you have in yourself with practice, the more confident, which is like such an empowerment energy, right? Empowered energy. Especially when you think about those moments or maybe past instances of your life where you felt like you had to ask for permission and ask like for like someone's opinion every single moment because like you're not really sure, right? And it's different because now you don't ask. You're just like, you know what? I'm coming through. Like I am going to go and do this. And I love what you said because I was actually speaking with my husband on the way here home and I was like, I am so grateful because you can't be mad at where you are in your journey. Like you said, every moment brings you closer to another level of awareness, another layer of the revealing of like the veil for you. Sometimes a lesson comes over and over again, but if you set the intention of like, you know what, I love myself where I am now, and I'm willing to just like I pray, like I started saying, I pray that while I'm here, wherever I'm at, I have another deeper layer of understanding for me. And one of that was like how I will, like in business, like they say business is the like the most potent, like powerful spiritual journey you will go on for yourself because you're gonna go through the ringer. Like you have to go and like trust yourself to really like know your message, to know what you're passionate about, what your services are for people that you know you have, that and wisdom that you hold that can help someone. And one of the things that I was like realizing like before, I didn't feel as confident like holding that message. I was scared, so I would always flip flop and like either change my mind one second the other, or it's like but I'm also like a generator, I guess. So I have a lot of interests. So I'm always in one thing or another. But and I guess that's where it's so important for me to ground because I can be flying around everywhere. But I just like the vibe that the whole vibration I'm holding right now. It's like no one has to agree with me. Like if I love myself so much, right? Like no, I knowing that no one else is gonna do this for me. Like if 5 years were to pass and I'm were to think about it right now and I still have the thing, wouldn't I be more like sad in a way because I could have done it? I had 5 years. Like I could have done it. I could have birthed this, right? I could have taken the action. And that's where I'm at. It's like I'm feeling more grounded and saying it's like okay. I'm not going to try to justify myself. I'm not going to try to change it. You're the one, once you know yourself, you trust yourself more, you have that built up confidence in time that when you share your message or when you share whatever it is that you're saying, the words, and just by you showing up, being present with everybody, that like someone else can judge you and have their own perception, which is fine because we all have different angles, right? And experiences, but um you're not going to abandon yourself. That's what it is. You're not going to abandon yourself. So sometimes we're so afraid of like people's approval. We can't trust ourselves because we're afraid to be abandoned. But what if you knew that you never could be abandoned because you would never disown yourself? Likewise, the universe has always got your back, right? The universe, God, the divine will always have you. There's that unconditional love, right? So you can say whatever you want to say with the highest light. Um, and one, there's no wrong answer. Your experience is that, right? And then also with the intention of wanting to help, right? This is something you're passionate about. Share that.
Ah, I love that so much. And before we wrap this up, like, I feel like you said so many really great things, but if there's one more thing that you could say to someone to start, stepping into themselves and start like this cultivation of finding, what it is that they want to bring to the world or whatever that is.
Mhm. I would say the best place to start is to step in this energy of play. Like, allow yourself to have more moments in your life where you are just experimenting, like trying out other things out of your own, like you were saying, your own schedule, thing that maybe your mind is conditioned and body to just do out of complacency. But like whether that's, drawing, trying something out, even if you're not freaking good at it, it's okay. You don't you like getting into the fact that life is not perfect. Life is art. You're only gonna get better the more you practice it. So whether you do oracle readings or yourself, like it's like this burst of creativity that allows you to just play and move in the moment. And if you can do more of that, that will remove and that help to de-stress the physical body and the mind and emotions, but also just energetically begin to lift you up to the higher levels of your like energy centers, chakras. And I think that is what we need more of. So like we can then allow ourselves to follow the spirit within us, our higher selves, in terms of when the guidance comes. Because I'm open to seeing this as a form of art and creativity.
I love that so much. Yeah, like let life be art. Boom. So I'm gonna link all your links so that people can find you if they're wanting to connect with you and dive deeper into all the amazing things that you're offering. And I'm just so grateful to know you and to witness you in all the levels of your journey and beyond. It's like it just feels so fun to witness each other in these moments of growth and exploration and expansion. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for like allowing me to share with you and just connect and just vibe off each other.
Yes, I love it. Well, until next time, bye for now.